Welcome to the weekly update from Contrabass Conversations. I'm your host, Jason Heath, and this show features the latest and greatest in the world of the double bass. You can visit contrabassconversations.com/news to submit a news item and get links to everything we cover here today. So, our first story, Giving Tuesday from the International Society of Bassists. If you give $100 or more today, you'll get one of the following 3 CDs from Gary Karr. A copy of Gary's latest CD, Bass Brothers, Gary's tribute to his sister and harpist, Remembering Arla, or Melodic Pastiche. So if you make a donation, email info@isbworldoffice.com and let them know which CD to send. And we have a special message here from Gary Karr. This is something he recorded for the ISB.
Hi, sisters and brothers. I'm Gary, and when I call you sisters and brothers, I really mean it, because you're my family, and as members of the ISB, you've come to be part of my family for the past 50 years. Yes, the ISB will be celebrating our 50th anniversary at our convention in June in Ithaca College at New York State. And you better believe that I'm expecting you to be there at what will be the greatest gathering of bassists in history. I'm so proud of my family of bassists, and I look forward to being with all of you next June. Don't miss it. I want you to be there.
All right, the greatest faces of all time. I wish I could do 1/10 of those faces. How cool is that? And I hope to see you all there at ISB 2017. I will be there. And by the way, I didn't know that Gary Karr had a YouTube channel, but that's on his YouTube channel, and there's a link to that in the show notes for this episode. If you do give, #GivingTuesday. So next story, DaXun Zhang launches Dragonetti.org, and this site is a free online music library of solo and orchestra music. All kinds of pieces are there. There's a video library. There's a little bit up there, and there's going to be more over time. And there's also information about the 3/4 and 7/8 Dragonetti bass models that DaXun's been producing. So there's a video of the Dragonetti bass in action. You can get that in the show notes of this episode. And by the way, DaXun was a guest on Contrabass Conversations back in the early days. I have a link to that in the show notes. And if you don't know DaXun, what a great guy. He's the bass professor at UT Austin, a fantastic solo player, and I just really love following along with what he's up to. I'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsor, D'Addario Strings, who've been so great sponsoring Contrabass Conversations. I'd encourage you to check out their Zyex strings. They're used by artists like Barry Bales, Missy Raines, Mark Helias, Chris Jennings, Tim Surrett, and they have a giveaway, a special string giveaway for Contrabass Conversations listeners. You can learn more at contrabassconversations.com/strings. And again, link in the show notes about that. Okay, our next story, the 2017 BRADETICH International Double Bass Solo Competition will be coming up September 1st through 5th, 2017 in Denton, Texas, and you can get information about that at bradetichfoundation.org. And the specifics, this is the second international competition. It's open to anyone under the age of 35. If you're under the age of 35 by September 1st, 2017, you qualify. And you must not have given a formal New York City debut. By the way, Jeff has also been a guest on the podcast several times. Links to those in the show notes. Do you have any news you'd like me to share? You can get in touch with me. You can email me at feedback@contrabassconversations.com, or you can send me a message on social media. And the way I've got it set it up, you just go to contrabassconversations.com/whatever your network of choice. So that's Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, Snapchat, whatever. I think I've got pretty much everything in there. No MySpace, but don't. If you're contacting me on MySpace, maybe there's something wrong with both of us. So give me your news. Send that along. I'd love to share that. Next story, Louisiana Bass Fest. Young Chao Wei, who was a guest on the podcast recently, is the bass professor at Louisiana State University. The Bass Fest will be February 11th, 2017. And you can check out more info at facebook.com/Louisiana Bass Fest. There will be featured guests, Derek Weller, who teaches at Interlochen, and Lawrence Wolf, Larry Wolf of the Boston Symphony. And both Young Chao and Larry have been previous podcast guests. I couldn't help but share this brief quote from my interview with Larry. Here it is.
I need to know what I can do. I have to do so without fear of failure, because if you fear failure, you won't learn anything. But if you do something and don't succeed, then you will have learned something. As long as you go into any situation knowing that there's something to learn and there's something positive to be gained from any situation.
And pretty much that whole interview I had with Larry could be excerpted out like that. It was fantastic. Link in the show notes. Okay, a couple more stories here. And check out Young Chao's interview. Young Chao Wei, just put that in Contrabass Conversations and you will find that. So the second annual San Diego Bass Fest is coming up this June, or next June rather, June 21st through 25th, 2017. And you'll hear PJ Sink, Mark Dresser, Justin Grinnell, Jory Herman, Jeremy Kurtz-Harris, Andres Martin, and Sayuri Yamamoto. To get more info, just first of all, mark your calendars, then go to SanDiegoBassFest.com, and there's a registration form there. And by the way, I have interviewed 3 of those clinicians. Jory Herman's been on the podcast, Jeremy Kurtz-Harris has been on the podcast, and Andres Martin has been on the podcast. Check out those links. I'd also like to thank Bass Capos for providing hosting for Contrabass Conversations. And they're an excellent choice for any bass player using or looking to implement a double bass extension. So they're easy to install, they're easy to adjust, they're adjustable capos, they're cheaper and more reliable than hand-built latches, they're lighter and quicker in operation, and you can learn more at basscapos.com. And if you're interested in supporting Contrabass Conversations in any way, there are all sorts of financial and non-financial ways you can do that. Just go to contrabassconversations.com/support, and those are all listed there. So some listener feedback. And if you'd like to send feedback, I get a ton of feedback. Feedback at contrabassconversations.com. I would love to hear from you. So my book, Winning the Audition, came out a few weeks ago. It hit #1 in Amazon in the auditioning category, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback about the book. So 3 people that wrote in recently: Bob Hansen, who's the former conductor of the Elgin Symphony, Doug Bistro, and Adam Booker all wrote in to say congrats on the book. So thanks for picking up. And if you want to learn more about the book, just go to winningtheaudition.net. Randy Swigum wrote in, I featured Corky Watkins on the podcast recently, and we talked about comprehensive musicianship through performance. And Randy is a colleague of Corky's in the CMP, Comprehensive Musicianship Through Performance world. So he wrote in, said, hey, Jason, I just want to shoot you a quick note and tell you how much I love that you are doing this. Not only is it always super classy and well done and thought-provoking, it's also really providing a unique service that no one else is quite doing. Thanks for investing and making it excellent and really thinking about it. It's a gift to us all. Randy, that is means so much coming from you. I've worked with Randy for years. He used to be the educational conductor at the Elgin Symphony, and he's the youth orchestra, the Elgin Youth Symphony conductor. Does a great job. Thank you, Randy, for the feedback. Monique also wrote in. Monique is a senior in high school trying to get into music school. She plays bass, and she's wondering if I had any suggestions for good audition pieces that aren't extremely hard, but will also make a good impression. And my advice to Monique was, first of all, where are you applying? We talked about that. And then get in touch with that teacher and arrange a lesson as soon as possible and play for them, because it's so different from school to school and level to level. It's almost hard to know where to begin. I have pieces that when I used to teach up in Wisconsin, I would recommend, and those were very different from pieces if you would be auditioning at DePaul. So that was my advice. And I heard in college auditions everything from Marcello sonatas to like a Vivaldi sonata on the low A and E strings, which I don't recommend, to obviously Kusevitsky and Dragonetti and Von Hall and Bach. And so it spans the gamut. But the recommendation I have is just get in touch with the teacher. And if you have recommendation or advice or feedback or anything, feedback at contrabassconversations.com will get you to me. And I'd love to know what you think of this new format for the news and listener feedback. I'm trying to find a good way to deliver this and provide something of value that's maybe nobody else is doing right now. So no one's really doing this, I don't think, in the bass world. And this just seemed like an interesting experiment. So I'd love to hear what you think about this. And one more bit of feedback. Sepahur, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, says, thank you, Jason. I just got acquainted with your blog, and I find it very informative, especially for me as a beginner. My name is Sepahur, and I'm from Iran. Actually, I've been playing the contrabass for 4 years now. I was wondering what kind of strings I should get. Mine are pretty worn out, and I have difficulty finding a variety of strings to choose from here in Tehran. This is a bit about me, Jason. I'll keep visiting your stuff. And so my advice, depends on where you are in the world. I don't know much about Iran, haven't been, would be a fascinating trip, but my inkling was that probably European strings would be cheaper there than they are over here in the States, and state-made strings like D'Addario tend to be less expensive here than the European brands. So I recommend the major string brands, D'Addario, Parastro, Tomastic, and just gave him some advice like that. If you have any more specific advice to give to someone in Tehran, pass it along. Feedback at contrabassconversations.com, and I will get that information to Sepahur. Well, this has been the weekly update from Contrabass Conversations. Please let me know what you think, and you can check out all the episodes at contrabassconversations.com/news.